at 7:03. We have how many of us on? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and there's 11 of us. So I don't think we're voting on anything. So I think we should be fine. Councilor Dombrowski, we're fine with that, right?
Yeah, there's nothing to be voted on tonight, Aaron, I would expect.
So, so thank you so much, everyone, for joining us again tonight. I flooded your email boxes over Friday and today with hopefully you thought some valuable information. One being which is item 2 on or should we need to do a roll call for a call to order? Should we go around? No, we're good. Okay. Move to item number 2, the approval of the minutes. I just wanted to see if everyone had a chance to take a look at the approval of the minutes that I sent around on Friday, or the minutes I sent around on Friday.
Yep, I did.
Does anyone have any edits or questions about anything that was on there? Is anything that you think you need changed? Everyone's so I guess, again, I've never chaired a meeting, but I guess we would go around and just make sure that vote that everything looks good.
Aaron, I'll just say that Will has also joined us as well.
Oh, okay. So I think we're good. We would have.
So this is just a virtual meeting?
Yes. Yes. I thought I said that on the email.
Yeah,
Sorry for the misunderstanding.
I just traveled all of Wakefield to find you guys.
Oh.
I'm gonna I'm gonna go home and jump back on.
Okay, apologize for that.
Yeah, no worries.
So we'll just go around and with the minutes, and if we could just get a roll call vote, is that right? I'm very happy to go to item number 3 after this because clearly I'm not very good at it. Or number 3. So we'll go around for approval of minutes. And first, I see. Does anyone want to make a motion to accept the minutes?
Make a motion.
I'll make that motion. That's 2 of us.
All right. For Chris first. Second.
Rocco.
Okay. And then I'll just do a quick roll call vote. Rocco?
Yep. Here.
Chris?
Yes.
Anne?
Yes.
Ed?
So as liaison, I won't be voting.
Oh, okay. All right. You won't be voting. Okay. And then we have, yeah, I think you'll have to abstain because you weren't at the last meeting.
Right.
Yes. Julianne?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. Ollie?
Yes.
Okay. And we did have Will, but I think that's good. Right? That works.
Mm-hmm.
All right. I'm going to move on to item number 3 on the agenda, nomination of a chair for the Economic Development Council. So I know we briefly talked about this last time, and we decided to push it to this meeting. I think just last meeting, we had a better understanding of what, how this group was going to run, what the responsibilities would be, what the goals and initiatives of this would be, kind of just really big picture. And we'll get into more detail about that tonight at the meeting. But I would like to just kind of, if you haven't been on a committee or any sort of board within town, the chair would really be kind of the leader of the committee. So you would be responsible for helping put the agenda in line, working with me. I would kind of handle it from the town side for posting and things like that. Just making sure that we're moving the agenda items forward, just that everything's functioning okay. And then could kind of also, help kind of facilitate any conversations throughout the committee meeting or council meeting. I'm sorry. And then also meeting attendance, everything I just didn't do a great job of, and all those other responsibilities. So I don't know if anyone has given any thought to this, if they wanted to nominate someone. I will be abstaining from it because I am a staff member. I know we have a few people on here that are already elected officials or on different boards and things like that. If you're, interested or would want to give it to someone that hasn't done it before, open to whatever you guys think. So I think I've done enough talking. I don't know if anyone has questions or would like to go ahead and nominate someone or themselves.
Aaron, should you wait for Will? Should we wait for Will to jump back on, just in case he's interested, or?
That's a solid point. Yeah, I saw it upside down. Did you give me a?
Thumbs down.
I'm like, wow, that's this brutal group.
It's like a rating.
Tough
What's
crowd.
going on here?
Not Aaron. So yeah, I think that's a really good point. So we could, if everyone else is okay with that, we could jump back to item number 3 and I can just not go through that whole spiel again, just kind of get Bill up to speed and give you guys 4 minutes to think about that. Does that work?
Yeah.
That's fine.
Okay. Great. So I'm going to move to item number 4, and this is really the bulk of the discussion, I think, tonight. I think after last meeting, I just want to say I enjoyed everything that we talked about. I think we left there with kind of the expectation of what this group's gonna be. And I think since then, there's been really exciting news, which we'll touch on more and go into more detail with item number 5. But there's been about $1 million allocated from the town council of ARPA funds for economic development programming activity. And so I thought this group would be a great starting point for how we look at spending that money. So I sent some information to you guys around earlier, but I think it just fits in perfectly with the timing of this group getting started. So on Friday, I did send around kind of what I thought was kind of different buckets that we talked about of kind of what our goals and objectives should be with kind of tasks underneath. I'm going to just start the conversation there. Did everyone got that correct?
Yep.
And did everyone have a chance to review or
Go peeking.
Yep.
peeking? I'll just open up the floor. If anyone has anything they want to say, anything I missed, kind of where we want to take this moving forward and how this fits into some programming and initiatives, the discussion about subcommittees. So I don't know if anyone wants to kind of jump on in. Well, I can start. So I'll just kind of run through it quick. Like I said, on my phone, I don't know. Let me see if I can try to pull it up here on my phone. Like I was saying, I was having computer issues. Let me make someone a co-host. Does anyone have it readily available to open and share with the group?
Is this the Economic Development Council initiatives you're
Yes.
speaking about? Okay.
Yes. Yeah. Let me see. Does everyone have it?
I have it. It's
You have-
Rocco.
That's the Friday document.
Yes, correct.
Yeah.
Yep. So it talks about, again, let me see if I can get this pulled up. I might just turn off my screen and mute myself, but I may be able to pull it up this way. Bear with me for 1 second while you guys take a look and then we can talk through.
So I think Friday was the agenda and the minutes, right?
Mhm.
Yep.
Yeah, so
Yes.
was it sent before that, Aaron?
Yeah, I think it might have been Wednesday I sent it.
Okay.
Okay, so I don't
is
have
it-
that one. It's at work for me. I apologize.
Is it the goals, Aaron? That was on,
Yeah, the goals, the Economic Development Council goals.
yeah, that was sent on Thursday.
Thursday, okay.
I have
Yeah.
initiatives open if you want me to share my screen. Oh, Erin, you're muted.
Aaron, you're on mute.
Yeah, sorry. Thank you. Yes. I'm trying to switch over to this so I can share my screen with you guys. This is okay. You need to get out of here, please. Hold on 1 second. Let me make someone else a co-host. Sorry about this. All right. There we go. Let me try this now. All right. We good? Can everyone see that?
There you go.
Yes.
Magic.
Yes.
Yep. Good.
Excellent.
All right. So my screen just went black on my computer. I'm not sure what's going on with technology tonight, but I can see it on my,
We see it.
yeah.
Do you want to just go like, start at the top, start with number one and just kind of go through it, or?
Yeah, let's do that. So this kind of breaks down into the business nonprofits. The first one is business and nonprofit retention and expansion. So I thought this goal kind of fit in with, how do we keep businesses here? So when it comes to, developing, I kind of took some of the Economic Development Council goals that are on our website and kind of fit them in these different buckets here. And the first one was like developing policy and program recommendations to present to the town council designed to strengthen our local economy and support current and prospective businesses. So this kind of fits in line with, what I was just ARPA funds and how do we kind of guide the town council when we're using the $1 million that were allocated towards economic development for our town. In the second bullet too, developing and proposing programs that foster expansion and growth opportunities for existing businesses and organizations. So I'm kind of under the thought of, if a business is doing well here and is looking for more funds to either grow or take their business to the next level, I thought that this would, be a good way to create some programs. I'm thinking maybe some sort of a grant program if they want to do e-commerce or want to kind of redo their space inside and things like that. And sign and facade could fit in that as well. Identifying strategies for sustained business competitiveness. So coming up with ideas to kind of sustain, what we have in here for our business community. Developing proposals to streamline business engagements with the town, kind of ease of doing business. So I'm thinking, I get businesses that are calling me all the time that are already here that have questions about, I want to put in a new sink, or I'm thinking about expanding my seating here. Who do I need to talk to? I'd like a new sign. And so sometimes, those people don't make those calls to me and then they get kind of thrown around. So, I want there, and I think we talked a lot about this with messaging last time, is how do we think we're business friendly, but are we really? And so I think a big part of that is kind of how do we streamline processes throughout the community. Okay. Identifying market sectors and opportunities to support and support the establishment or growth of minority-owned, women-owned, and veteran-owned businesses. And so, looking into those different demographics and how we can support them through different programming, as well as just support in general when it comes to technical and business support. And then last one I put in here is identifying gaps in retailers, restaurants, and services currently available in Wakefield and develop proactive strategies to help close those gaps. So, having those discussions with the businesses and learning what and nonprofits of what's missing, what can we do to proactively make changes to kind of fill that void to help them grow within our community and stay within our community. So that's kind of the first thing. I don't know if there was anything I really missed. But yeah, I don't know if anyone has anything to add to that.
When you're talking about grants, so do we talk about how much these grants would be and how we kind of slot the funds we're working with? And do you have funds for each bucket kind of thought process?
Right. So what you're saying is kind of allocating a certain amount of these ARPA funds, for example, to each one of so number
Some of the
one
initiatives, yeah.
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 I mean, that's not a bad idea. But I'm also wondering too, if there's a lot of crossover too with some of the other ones. The other buckets here we have, where, some programs may work for that, but also work for other, new businesses too, like the second one, attracting businesses.
Mhm.
So there may be a way to pool that money together as a bigger program.
Right. Yeah, I
Yeah.
was thinking there's some, because you've got 6 buckets, which is great, but I forget how many folks you said was on the council.
Mhm.
So I didn't know if we wanted to maybe try to roll some of these together. Because I'm not sure how you would have 6 subcommittees with, would you say there's 11 people?
Yes.
So
Well, yeah, 9 with 2 town council liaisons.
Right.
Yeah.
Right, so maybe, because then it would be challenging to have that many subcommittees. Or maybe we prioritize some of them, I'm not sure, but maybe looking to make the number of subcommittees smaller when we first get started.
Right.
Because then to Chris's point, Chris, I would actually think it the other way, is once the subcommittees start talking, start sort of flushing things out, maybe coming up with I don't want to call it a budget, but sort of what this would cost, and then kind of come up with a projection of how much moving some of the recommendations forward would actually cost, to kind of take your idea, but maybe flip it a little bit.
I have no problem with that. I think that's a great way to look at it, because in thinking the course of, and I do think you got to streamline some of this, and I think there's a lot of crossover.
Yeah.
And if you're going to allocate funds to stuff, maybe you can, tighten up some of these statements into a smaller bucket. But if you come out of a subcommittee meeting and with a great proposal, then yeah, I have no problem saying, yeah, this proposal is worth 10% of the money, or this proposal is worth 3,
That's a projection.
rather
Yeah.
than, here's a blanket number, everybody gets 2.5.
Right.
I agree with
And
that, Julianne.
yeah, I also think, like, for example, 1 and 2, you have business and nonprofit retention and expansion, and then I'm sorry, number 1 is business and nonprofit retention and expansion. Then at number 2, you have business and nonprofit attraction. Maybe we can combine those two and simply business and nonprofit attraction, retention, and expansion, and kind of take some of those bullets and kind of combine them,
Yeah.
and then we can kind of see what we have after that as far as need goes, and the allocation, I think, should be based not solely on need, but it should be one of the factors that we should take into consideration.
Okay.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And Erin, thank you for doing this, because we wouldn't even be able to have this conversation if you didn't put all this work in and pull all this
Yeah.
out like this. So thank you for doing this.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm having so much technology issues right now. I'm trying to
Well, this
scroll
is fine.
down here, and because my computer screen is still black, I'm not really sure why. But you can see my screen, which I'm trying to figure out why that's happening, but I can't see it on my own screen to even scroll down. So here we go. Okay. All right. So you combining the two, so the business and nonprofit attraction, retention, expansion, and attraction as kind of one kind of group of funds. Okay.
And looking at the other items, marketing, promotion, and data collection is like 3 bullets under that. And infrastructure, there's just 2 bullets under that. Workforce development, there's 4 bullets under that. And the last one, placemaking, there's 3 bullets under that. So I think, maybe we can even do that with some of the other items. As Julian mentioned, there's only 11 of us, so we kind of want to, I think anyway, we kind of want to maybe have enough people and enough resources so that we can give 100% to all of these important endeavors.
Yeah, I completely agree. All right. Does anyone
I
else?
do also, I'm sorry, Aaron. I just also do want to remind everyone that this is a really dynamic council, in that we have a unique opportunity here for the council to look at ways that we can deploy this $1 million that's been allocated for primarily business related purposes, but from ARPA funds. But the council also has the opportunity to work on a lot of other initiatives that may not necessarily be allocating dollars to, but instead different ways in which we try to streamline processes and make Wakefield more attractive to businesses, and also be able to make it easier for businesses to establish and grow within our community. So I think that the objectives of the council are really multifold. Dollar allocation is certainly one of them, but I would caution that we shouldn't think too much about kind of these subcategories or these subcommittees getting like certain funding allocations to then do certain work. I think that the allocation is really however the priorities fall into line.
So it's not about the money.
He's taking money away from
Wonderful
us already.
ideas.
Well, I don't think entirely, but I think a lot of the what we'll be talking about as a council will be things. Obviously, it's about economic, development and generation of business, but I think a lot of it is not necessarily allocating dollars for that to happen. It's more about how we can do things more efficiently or more streamlined to make us more business friendly.
Right.
Well, as an economic driver, community warm and welcoming is part of attracting businesses and getting people to come here.
Right.
So I think that there's another piece there that can dovetail into economic development. That's not just trying to generate businesses or improve businesses. I fully believe in streamlining the ability for people to open businesses and work in town, but I think there's a community piece to it as well.
Mhm.
Do you think that number 6 and number 3 sort of could be combined somewhat?
And Ed, do you have that open in front of you? I just had to restart my computer and I made you co-host. Does anyone?
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can. 1 second. Sorry, Aaron. I don't know
No,
what I have.
I don't know what's going on. I left
Aaron, if
myself.
we were in person, haha.
I know. I feel like I'm not helping that situation very
Can everyone see that now?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
I really appreciate it.
Yeah, sure thing.
So 3 and 6, that's a good idea.
Yeah.
I think they're similar. So
Hmm.
The
I-
placemaking and the marketing of the town.
Marketing.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Kind of event based.
they kind of go hand in hand.
Sure.
Yeah, I'm gonna call it because placemaking and things I think that are highlighted in that are more event based, driven things. And I think that falls in line. I think marketing and events go in hand together as well. So okay.
I will say that I know that because this is an outgrowth of what had been presented before the town council to create the council. And I think the placemaking was really focused more on the idea of pop-ups and other initiatives like that in specific events, whereas the marketing piece was in part trying to figure out how we can stand out regionally as a community, and in a very highly competitive, area of the state. So I think we were trying to really figure out ways that we can really kind of brand Wakefield as open for business and business friendly, amongst other things. Where the placemaking also gave us the opportunity to think about ways in which we could expand pop-ups, things like the scavenger hunt that Aaron has been involved with in the past, other things of that nature, to try to encourage people to become able to come into our community more.
Yeah. I almost wonder if marketing, promotion, and data collection becomes a piece of the deliverable out of the subcommittees. Because if you're actually thinking about it, we can come up with great ideas, but then how do we sell it? What's the data behind it? Because you can come up with a great idea, but if you can't objectively say this
Sell
is
it.
why it's a great idea. So I'm
Right.
almost wondering if 3 is a component, a result of the other, of each subcommittee.
I sort of agree with that. I was thinking of taking 3 and moving data collection to be the first word, and then moving 3 to be the first initiative, so that it's really looking at what's working, what's bringing money into Wakefield and what's bringing people into Wakefield, and collecting that data and looking at what's working, that's community based, that's very Wakefield, and sort of
Hmm.
growing from there.
So that's the branding piece.
Branding is you're open and welcoming Wakefield, so the social media aspect of it, maybe what the one area I see that maybe Wakefield has a huge opportunity is maybe getting a little more involved at the state level, and then just selling Wakefield. The Healy administration just came out that she wants Massachusetts to be like an AI hub. So how do we brand Wakefield so that when they're thinking about this at the state level, they think, oh, you know what, a great place for an AI facility would be is Wakefield. So being able to market and promote, and then having the data for something like that to be able to go to your state reps, and say, look, this is why we're great. This is why we should be sitting in the room when you're having these conversations.
And I'll speak. Sorry, I don't want to interrupt. Go ahead, whoever's going to speak.
Erin, I was just going to say, I know that a big part of this council is to support the work that you're doing. And I know that a lot of the challenges that you've run into, this council is intended to be supportive of that. From a data perspective, I think being able to have the information about what it is that is driving businesses or people to certain communities versus others is important for us. So it's having some demographic data, but also understanding why is it that when Erin is getting cold call or making a cold call to a certain business, why is it that they're choosing Melrose or Stoneham or any other community, Medford for that matter, over Wakefield? And so I think that data collection would ultimately help to better inform why it is that people or businesses are making the choices that they are, so we can tailor our own approach towards that. And I know, Erin, you're able to speak that far better than any of us relative to what you encounter in the field every day.
Yeah, what I was going to add to that, I think the data part, and I do think the marketing, I think marketing events do go together, but I think the bigger picture of marketing, what you were just talking about, Ed and Julian, is how do we market Wakefield to be a place to do business, not only for the small businesses, but also the place for kind of AI or larger companies that are looking to maybe locate outside of Boston, or within kind of this 128 belt. But I do find that the data is very important. I myself have put together like a PowerPoint basically presentation that I've created into a PDF with data about kind of the demographics here in town, the people, how many kids live here, how many new developments have been built over the last 10 years. That always seems to be a big topic that people want to know, and how far they are from our downtown. And so a lot of these decisions that people are making when they want to come locate here are data driven. And so but I'm sure I'm missing the mark somewhere on what data, is missing.
Oh,
But
I think that's, that's one of, to Julianne's point, that's data we have that needs to be marketed and exposed.
Yeah.
And for the Wakefield perspective, big picture, Audubon Road and Edgewater are nice enough places to draw national people.
Yep.
And that's kind of,
Yeah, that's true.
no one really, when they think of Wakefield, thinks of that beautiful office park and all the technology and potential, manufacturing, et cetera, can be down on Audubon Road.
Right.
Especially if there's going to be, a dispensary there.
Absolutely. Yeah, and that's conversations that I've had with the Edge folks as well, when it comes to marketing, kind of what people are looking for when they come in. And I think you know, we need to look at, as this council and myself and my department and as a town, who we are and what we want to brand ourselves. And we don't have to brand ourselves as one thing or the other, but how do we kind of target,
Oh, we're multifaceted.
yeah, yeah, exactly. You know, because it's more than just move your business here. It's move your business here because we have these housing available for your employees. Move your business here because we have these wonderful restaurants within, you know, our downtown area. We have a wonderful lake, a 3-mile loop around the lake. You could have, you know, public or group outings at the Vets Field. And so it's more than just like, you know, the location. It's like, what do we have to offer? And I'm always thinking of these larger businesses, but when it comes to the smaller businesses, a lot of that information is helpful to them as well. So I think, yeah, like you said, it's multifaceted, and how do we kind of do that? And what does that look like? So.
And the one thing that, to Ed's point, why people go into Melrose is because Melrose has really sold itself that their school system is great, when we actually know that Wakefield school system is, I just brag, Wakefield school system is better. And I always think, when I lived in Malden, I tried to convince them that we should be the education city. But now that I'm in Wakefield, like thinking about, we have excellent, public schools, we have excellent private schools, we have the Voc right here. So being able to sell our community as a really quality education for your employees, kids, your kids, and sort of looking at it at that as well, that it's not just you know, you can go run around the lake. It's your kid can come and be part of the, I forget which, like we keep winning all these regional things. Your kid can be in the #1 band in the region. So that sort of stuff, that I think sometimes we forget, that people who are running businesses oftentimes have families. And if they're running bigger businesses, they absolutely want to make sure that their employees are taking advantage of the community. And if they decide to live there, that they've got the good school systems to go to. So
Yeah,
schools
that's a
is,
good point.
yeah, it's open and welcoming schools, and crime stats.
I'm,
Is my
I'm sure,
understanding of what I'm always looking for.
I'm sure Chris can agree to this, that families that want to move into a community, one of the first factors, the most important factors that they consider is the school system. So if we can take it to the next level, as far as what you just talked about, how good a school system was here, it certainly would go a long way to attract not only businesses, but also thriving families as well.
That's right. Yeah, employers they want to know that it's a good school system. It's solid.
So I think I have, I'm just gonna chime in real quick. I think I have my computer up and running and everything's good now. So Ed, if you want, I can share the screen and kind of make real time
Sure thing.
edits to this document while we're talking, if you'd like. All right. Thank you so much. Got nervous there for a little, but we're good now. You guys can see it now, right? So, so just to get us back kind of to make this document something that we can work on moving forward, and then kind of next steps, I'm just gonna go back to this real quick. We're gonna kind of combine all these things together, correct?
Yeah, I think, you know, I think you can probably make that 3 or 4 by the time you kind of start, you know, it's almost strategic planning kind of stuff you've done, Aaron, which is fabulous. But if you're gonna subcommittee stuff, I think you wanna have it a little tighter,
Okay,
Right.
less overlap.
okay. So how do you imagine that looking exactly?
Well, what's the intent of this document? Because, you know, we're talking about public relations and marketing and, you know, creating the community. So is this a worksheet for us? Is this a document that, you know, we want to put forward? I mean,
So
what do you
I-
want to do with this? And
So
to
I
me, I
think,
think it's a worksheet for us.
yeah, that's the way I look at it as well. You know, I think they did a really good job of putting up the economic development goals on the website, and I think we should stay true to what those goals are, and that's a lot of them are found within kind of this worksheet. I was kind of looking at this as, yeah, like a tool for this group, like fitting within kind of the discussion we had last week, fitting within the buckets, and kind of what are we trying to address within these different buckets, and how do we do that? So that's kind of the way I was looking at it.
that's how I took it as well. This is a springboard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
So Chris, is what you're saying, we don't need to nail this down, but sort of keep the
Use it as-
structure, like just get the structure in place and then,
I think you have a structure and, maybe as you subcommittee stuff, yeah, we don't need this line or this sentence
Right.
is not, this is duplicated here. Your subcommittee is going to try and come out of this document with some proposals
Mhm.
or thoughts on, again, how we facilitate economic
Mhm.
development. And, I'm back to marketing to, one of the drivers of your economic development is community lifestyle. So, as you go market all the facets of Wakefield, you're also going to tie in, your community lifestyle. And that is, restaurants, viable businesses, while having a nice economic base over at the edge in Audubon Road kind of stuff.
Mhm.
I think, economic development is more than just physical economics.
Mhm.
Would we be able to review those PowerPoint data presentations together before we broke off into small groups so we're all looking at the same information?
I'm sorry, what PowerPoint?
You
One
mentioned
you
that you
did,
had
Aaron.
PowerPoints with data with the number of
Oh
new
yeah, I'm
development.
sorry. Yes, yes, sorry. Yeah, I can share with you. Absolutely. I can share that with this group. Yeah. And that's something I would like to build upon too. And that, you have the marketing promotion, but that also again falls within business retention, attraction, the big thing for
Mhm.
attraction, right? These marketing packets, if you will, or what do they call them now? A lot of, you don't print them.
Decks,
What are they called?
deck,
Decks. Yeah, slide decks.
Yeah.
Slide decks. Putting those together and just kind of having
Right.
this message
Mhm.
with everything that we're talking about. So when we are going out to kind of attract folks, it's the same message kind of across the board. But yeah, I'd be more than happy to share that with you guys. A few of the ones I talked to and put it together were Cafe Nero and as well as the place in Burlington. I'm blanking on the name, but there was a few other ones too that I put together. So I'd be more than happy and kind of as a starting point, and maybe we build upon that.
On this document here, Chris mentioned something I thought made a lot of sense. Maybe if we come up with teams as we've talked about, and we're assigned or we take on some of these tasks. Let's say there are 2 or 3 people to each topic, then we could take that topic and we can reword it, add to it, take things away from it, and kind of restructure it based on the input of the members that are being assigned to each one of those items. Just an idea.
I think one of the benefits of this council is that we were looking to draw from a lot of different life and work experiences that everyone has, and I think when I see marketing and promotion, for instance, I know of at least one member who is very, very adept at that, for instance, and the part of the opportunity here is for us to be able to identify what Wakefield is and how to promote Wakefield in all the ways we've spoken about. But it's also being able to leverage connections that each of you has in your respective professions. And undoubtedly, everyone has different connections in the work that you're doing. And many of them are quite meaningful and could be quite meaningful for making introductions to Aaron or to bringing in, some other perspectives and insights into your various disciplines. So if you're in real estate, for instance, or commercial real estate specifically, you have a real background and skill set, and just knowledge that would be of tremendous benefit to the work that Erin's doing, and it would be a great complement to it. Similarly,
Mhm.
those of you that are in residential real estate, for instance, your ears to the ground, and you know what it is that prospective residents are looking for in a community and what they're asking about. And the examples go on, and those are just two of many. But I think it's just something to be mindful of when we're approaching this, that we're really looking to have each of you dig deep into your own subject matter expertise and share it with us as a community, and share it with Erin specifically as our economic lead on this.
I completely agree. I was gonna say that too. It's like I was thinking about the retention too. I think for me, it's knowing how to, you guys, a lot of are in this day in, day out, is how do I approach some of these businesses? How do I talk to these brokers? What is kind of the selling point that I have here for the community, the kind of target words I should be thinking of, and what kind of, going back to the data, what information they're looking for that maybe I'm not providing them already. And so even with these subcommittees, if we decide to go that route, and I'm not sure how everyone feels about that, because it's a way for, us to get together as such not a large group and really talk and come away with some takeaways. I think at this time too, I think it's just those little things that we could be discussing at this group as well. And I think too, having the ARPA funds to be actually create these programs. And then we can spend some time a good amount of time talking about that now that we've seen this kind of bullet points and things that, when it comes to economic development, what we should be maybe striving for, what would be the most beneficial when it comes to programs and initiatives with the funds. But I would love to take away from this meeting, before we get a chair and all that, is kind of the direction of how we are going to get things done too. And if anyone does think the subcommittee route is the way to go, great. We break that off, and I would think it'd be great to have, like you were saying, someone in this group that knows marketing should really probably work in that space, and then people that are in commercial real estate work in that space, but for retention and attracting. And so I don't know if anyone has anything to add or kind of has input on what the way they think this should be structured and most beneficial to me.
So,
Oh, go ahead, Julianne.
so just looking through the whole document very quickly, the first two bullets is actually where my interest lies. I think that's sort of what you're saying, like we pull into where our interest lies. The retention, attraction, expansion, that to me is the sort of the strategic, how are we going to keep people here? How are we going to bring them in? I thought at the end of the meeting last time, when Kimberly said, well, what are the obstacles for people actually renting these places? I mean, that to me was like an aha moment. So I'd be interested in, like, these two being combined, I'd be interested in the business, nonprofit retention, attraction, expansion subcommittee. And then I think from that, just pulling everyone together and then figuring out what are the deliverables, right? What do we want to deliver? What's the timing of that? They're all going to be recommendations, but recommendations around what, and then when are we going to deliver them to this committee and then to the town council?
One idea I had was kind of a hybrid approach where we each have our interests and strengths that we know, and we can go through this document thoroughly and decide what we want to focus on, but have that independent work where we're thinking of programs and initiatives that we want to propose independently, and then before coming into the subcommittee to discuss together as a group. I think that hybrid approach I've heard works better than just getting into a group and brainstorming together.
So
I agree with that.
people are on board for subcommittees for the most part.
Well, how many do you think there would be?
That's going to be my next question. What does that subcommittee, how does that break down? I mean, I think this is such a big, these two here are so big and cover probably
Right.
everything, all of these different topics here, right? Infrastructure, if we don't have the right water, it's hard to attract, a life science company, things like that. You know what I mean? So it kind of can fall in line with that. But how we want those broken down, I'm intrigued. I think marketing definitely could be its own thing.
Mhm.
Yep.
It seems like we could probably do marketing again, how we it kind of twofold, how we really brand Wakefield as a community to the outside, and then more directly how we think about marketing Wakefield to businesses that Aaron's trying to attract here. And that's where I think, as Aaron said, the analytics, the data really comes into play. Whereas thinking more broadly about how we market Wakefield as a leader within this region, or the centerpiece of this region, it's probably a little bit of a different exercise, but it's all connected, certainly, and all super important.
Mhm.
And it would be great to have, people that have do marketing in their line of work, but also people that are in the real estate world that deal with the data collection and what they see day in and day out of, useful information. So we're making sure whatever we're marketing is the right type of information we should be marketing. And then, infrastructure. So the placemaking pop-up events, I don't know. I think of the Albion Cultural Exchange, the pop-ups we did last summer. I know we talked about this a little bit earlier. Is that like its own thing, proposing new programming for those types of things? Where do we find the grant funds for the Albion Cultural Exchange? Because I think that's a huge economic development driver. And then we have infrastructure, which I think could really fall within kind of the retention and attraction piece. And then workforce development is a big thing I hear all the time from small businesses, large businesses. I think a real thing we're hearing now is a lot of people are moving out of Massachusetts to lower cost living. And so having a hard time fulfill that workforce at that higher, level for larger businesses, but then also finding those folks at the kind of at small businesses that can't open their doors because they don't have people to work. And so how do we help them? Is it through programming, making connections and things like that? So just kind of explaining those a little more, where my thought process was, why I added those.
And I think, Aaron, on that point too, the workforce development, there's obviously a lot of crossover with a lot of what's being discussed here. But a great example of that is we'll have a new vocational school that'll have greater capacity. And a lot of the trades, a lot of the businesses that are trades within our town are having great difficulty even finding employees. But I mean, we have culinary options at the vocational school. So restaurants knowing, hey, we have students, that are interested, in pursuing that as their career path. So I think that's where the crossover kind of happens between those focused more on maybe like policy or workforce development, but also the marketing piece to understand we have a workforce and a growing workforce that's organically happening here in town. We'll have a new high school, a new vocational school, and it's really attractive. So how we leverage that, it sets us apart. And I think the vocational school, especially, we're talking about 12 communities that, of students that come together here, and they're able to work and they're looking for opportunities, right? And so that uniquely positions Wakefield compared with a lot of our neighboring communities and across the region, frankly.
I think that's a really good idea. When I saw that workforce development, I was thinking a bank I worked for a couple of years ago, more than a couple of years ago now, but we used to hire kids from the high school all the time, interns we call them, and they're high school kids, and some of them knew each other and all that, and we hired them to do some filing, do some computer work for us. Nothing crazy important or terribly difficult to do, but just something that would attract high school kids, and if enough communities took advantage of something like that, I think it's a really good thing. Voc kids are especially. I mean, there's tremendous opportunity to tap into market the idea of hiring kids from the Wakefield High School or the Voc to come in and help out at banks, insurance companies, all kinds of different places of business that could use the help. And in turn, the kids would pick up skills and I think it's a plus, big plus.
Mhm. And even the bigger companies, so the bigger companies need the
Yep.
trade to come in and help them. So
Yep.
that would be a driver to get some of the bigger companies in to say, you've got your workforce is coming out of school right here.
Mhm. True.
Absolutely.
Well, you facilitate access to them. You can
Right.
facilitate access
Exactly.
to the regional vocational high school, to some of the people coming into the market.
Mhm.
Obviously, you need to kind of loop them in with that, but that's another one of your hooks. And there's a lot of wonderful hooks as to why you should be in Wakefield.
That's right.
And I had to workforce development with my time in Lowell. We worked really close with our community college, the Middlesex Community College, and I try to make those connections sometimes with the businesses here in town, with the North Shore Community College, because a lot of times the businesses will get together to apply for grants to do on-site training for employees or new employees, especially when it comes to the trades. So I'm just wondering, if this is something that we're hearing across the board from some of our companies, some of the manufacturers, light industrial. I just think workforce development is just such a big conversation, and there's so many resources out there that people don't know about, and it's really driving people together. So I don't know if we look at that as its own kind of subcommittee. I mean, I find workforce development very interesting, and how do you make those connections, and we have so much asset here when it comes to kind of that streamlining, that pipeline of workforce here in town. And I don't know, programming some funds could be used to do some training, I guess. I think a big thing I always hear too, and maybe there's this way some ARPA funds could be used to this, is training soft skills, for folks that are coming out of the tech school or North Shore, just human resource type skills. I think working at a small business or any business is always something I hear a lot of.
We have at the bank, we have a loan with a nonprofit in Melrose Square that provides computer skills and computer training to individuals. It's a nonprofit and it's wildly successful. You'd be surprised how many people um, really want to learn more about computers and programming and all those things, but even just basic computer skills. And that company's doing very well because of those things. And maybe that's something that we might try to put together like a lab, a computer lab, where we teach computer skills for, as people with English as a second language or whatever the case may be.
Yeah. So I don't know if there's an appetite for something like that. If there's not, something we can revisit in the future, or think there's enough work or programs that could come out of that. Taking silence as a no. It's gonna kind of be part of every conversation, I think, and we can revisit
Right.
it when it comes to programming.
Right.
But just something to always keep in your back of your mind when you're thinking about anything that we're kind of working on.
So with it, because economic development, we're kind of boiling the ocean here, right? It's kind of everything.
Yeah.
So
Mhm.
I'm wondering if we figure out 2, maybe 3 subcommittees, we branch off and we keep this document, and as we're working through sort of the 1, 2, 3 subcommittees, we at some point within the subcommittee take a look at the document and say, do we have any thoughts about workforce development? Do we have any thoughts about placemaking? And just sort of add that in, because we're not going to solve all this in a year, right? We would be
No.
amazing. We should start our own business if we solve all this in a year.
Right.
But maybe taking just a couple of breaking out and doing a couple of the subcommittees with the thought that within those meetings, taking some times to look at some of like these elements, like the workforce development, the infrastructure piece, the data piece.
Mhm.
To that end, I'll ask you, Erin, what do you see as deliverables from us?
I mean, honestly, I think deliverables would be right now at this time, if I'm going to be completely transparent, would be
Oh, don't do that.
don't do that. Well, with this funds, which we'll talk more about, is programming to kind of meet these goals here through some ARPA funds as a starting point, right? I think that would be a deliverable for me, is having something that is actionable to kind of address some of the things that we're talking here through programs and for a wide range of businesses, nonprofits. I think that would be the first ask of mine.
But one deliverable is programs.
Yes.
So, as you're looking at subcommittee stuff, is one deliverable infrastructure? Are you going to work with, 2020 or the 2030 thing that's coming up? I mean, maybe part of the subcommittees, why you label them, should have deliverables as part of that.
Mm-hmm.
And also,
I'm happy to
it
chat
should,
and talk about things, but I'd like to see some thoughts on what are our deliverables, what are, not, you can't have concrete goals, but what are we gonna do?
yeah, we should have
What's-
goals, and I think we should also have some sort of a timeline. Like any project, you have a project manager, you have a PM, and you set forth all of your different aspects of the project, and each item has a timeline on it, and when you expect that this part of the project should be complete, and that whole thing. I'm not saying that we should take that approach, but some semblance of an end game, so to speak, with each one of the deliverables that you just talked about.
I think we may also, to dovetail into the next agenda item, we may also be better served to recognize that there are deliverables we're going to have that could be realized quite quickly because of the ARPA funding that we'll talk
Correct,
about soon.
yeah.
And so
Do you want me to-
deliverables might.
Yeah.
Aaron, unless you think we should stick with this, or maybe we can toggle
No,
between the
I think-
two.
Yeah, I think that's kind of when you're asking, what do you need now? This is kind of what I need help with right now. So let me pull that up. I just sent that today. So Ed, do you want to talk? So we'll move on to item number 5, which is the ARPA funds, which is really exciting news. Is everyone familiar with ARPA funds to start this conversation?
Yeah.
Sorry, I was pulling up the yes, no?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So Ed, do you want to kind of give an overview of
There were a couple of head shakes. There were a couple of no.
Oh, so sorry. I was pulling
I'm
up
happy to give an overview. If that
Yeah, would
help.
you like to do that? Yeah, that'd be great.
Sure.
So just like ever so quickly, so ARPA stands for American Rescue Plan Act, and this is a result of the pandemic. It's COVID related, and it was the federal government that was giving or directing funds to our municipalities. Wakefield received just over $8 million in ARPA funds. Really, initially the intention was really twofold. One was to focus on community health and being able to improve, being able to community health and safety and addressing issues related to the pandemic. The various test kits we all know about, the vaccines and everything of the sort. The other piece of that was economic recovery, specific to any businesses, which for Kenley was probably all businesses that were impacted by the pandemic. So that was the original intention of the funds. The funds have the ways in which the funds can be expended has really kind of expanded over time. And it really, the funds are really now at this point available for any and all purposes that a community can deem as appropriate, with very limited exceptions. I'd say that the biggest guardrails we have now relative to these funds is the timeline to spend them. And so the town council spent the better part of, I guess, about a year or thereabouts making different investments in different areas over time. I think from sidewalk expansion to supporting the Inspire Cafe that you might be familiar with to any number of things. There are again about at that point about 7 million different reasons. And so I had worked, and a couple of the counselors had also similarly put in requests, but I had worked on this idea of making sure that we keep a good amount of this funding available for our business community, and specifically those that were really impacted, but also looking at ways that we can use these funds as an economic driver going forward. I had submitted a detailed memo to our town administrator, who was kind of serving as the conduit for all the requests. And ultimately, at a recent town council meeting, of the remaining ARPA funds, we had about 2.2 million, I think. $1 million has been allocated to really economic development and nonprofits. And we have a lot of opportunities now to go forward in different ways with the funding. Some of the intended expenditures, and I'll say that there were two that are probably most well-defined. One of them is a building facade improvement program, and as you're probably familiar, we have a very historic and charming downtown and town as a whole, but there's a lot of opportunity for trying to revitalize tired spaces, and that's a lot of facade work. And there have been a lot of challenges for businesses to be able to do that over the years. So $150,000 at a minimum has been assigned for that purpose. Coupled with that is a sign improvement program, and this is something that had been worked on prior to COVID, and I know that Aaron and our town planner are now working on getting it over the finish line, and that's really to be able to streamline the process by which you have signage approved, but also create a greater aesthetic with all of our signage. And a lot of the thinking behind this is, if we improve the presentation of our business areas, our business districts, be it Greenwood, be it Main Street proper, what we think of as the downtown, then that will help to encourage a lot of businesses to see that we're invested in the community and in our business community specifically. Some of the other things, and again, this Aaron has up on the screen here, there's a lot of different ways in which we can deploy these funds, especially supporting veteran-owned businesses or businesses employing those with special needs. The Inspire Cafe being one such example. $150,000 of separate fund, ARPA funds, but not included in the million, have been allocated for their ability to make improvements to that space under a 10-year lease, primarily ADA compliance improvements. Helping our nonprofit sector, we have used other ARPA funds, for instance, to support the Wakefield Food Pantry. But Aaron has had really great success with pop-ups. You may recall this past summer across from the middle school, there were those, I guess, 3 pop-ups. And the idea of creating incubator businesses, we're really looking to do a lot relative to that. But also, we were talking about programs earlier, being able to bring in consultants who can have safe, open forums with a lot of business owners to talk about ways in which they can either become more digital and more technologically advanced, or ways in which they can address certain issues, perhaps their own marketing, or perhaps the way in which they can collaborate with other, maybe trade organizations, or other ways in which they can run a stronger, more profitable business, ways that they can keep in business. Or maybe it's even things like the way that you have your social media presence, or your online store, or the online commerce portion of your business. So there's a lot of real opportunity here with these dollars. One of the challenges is technically the dollars need to be under contract by the end of this calendar year. So by December 31st, the dollars have to be under contract. What's really creates a unique, really a once in a generation opportunity for a council like this is we can use these funds and deploy these dollars to businesses pretty immediately. So if council comes up with, say, certain criteria, for instance, relative to facade improvements or signage, for instance, and then we create things like lookbooks where we help to inspire business owners to think about ways in which they can better market their business and with an aesthetic that is more complementary to what we're looking to achieve with the town as a whole. Then that's the sort of thing that this group can come up with, guidelines or criteria, and then we have those dollars readily available. We're not applying for them; we have them, so we're able to deploy them pretty soon. I would like to see us also be aware of ways in which we can support local businesses in some of these expenditures. An awning company or a sign company, whatever the case might be, Wakefield based. Maybe that's part of the criteria with a preference towards keeping it very local in that way. But there's a real opportunity here for us to be able to think about how we want to spend these dollars. A lot of this can be in the form of grants that we provide to businesses. A lot of it can also be matching grants, where if we're able to work with banks, for instance, in town to figure out a matching grant, so it becomes a public-private partnership. But we also want to be able to have it set up so that the town isn't just giving money to businesses necessarily, but also that the businesses are demonstrating a buy-in. What are they doing as well relative to that? And so that's a good opportunity, I think, for us to think about how in the short term, we may want to be thinking about certain programs that we can activate or fund. And I should say, Aaron has some good programs that are underfunded right now. The Chamber of Commerce has some good programs, and speaking with John Smolinski about this proposal when I was drafting it up. There's a lot of opportunity there too, and it's a matter of funding that. So we don't necessarily have to start from ground zero with all of this, but we can maybe look at what programs are in place that are maybe underfunded now that we want to make more robust. And also think about other areas that we can create programs, even for many of these, it'll be on a one-time basis to be able to expend these dollars and make sure that we're getting the most impact on our community and on our business community with the dollars we're spending. So it's a little bit of I'll say it's with our core mission as a council, but it's also a little bit of a sidetrack in a very good way, because these are things that we have to do rather soon, again, trying to get everything under contract. The other option we have that is being explored is whether we can create a trust that allows us to park more of these dollars into a trust and then spend them over time. I think, Aaron, we're still kind of waiting on confirmation as to whether we can do that.
Mm-hmm.
There is concern, though, I'll say candidly, there is concern about clawback. And there has been some talk that your best advice is to spend the dollars that are available to us now, because that could change over time. And so I'm a little bit reluctant to see too much of this squirreled away with the expectation of being able to use it in the future, because things could change.
Use it or lose it.
Yeah.
A little bit. This is a really good opportunity. So this is a way for this council to really have a significant impact on our business community over the next several months. But again, it's a little bit different than the longer term goals in some respects. Obviously, there's a lot of overlap, but there are, in a way, if you want to think about subcommittees, there might be even a basis for, a couple ad hoc, kind of like subcommittees, that are just intended to kind of deal with this piece of it, specifically. But that's really the ARPA funding, in a nutshell. But this council is so well positioned. You basically,
It was perfect timing.
Your second meeting, and by the way, here's $1 million for you to help us, decide how we best allocate it, to help our community.
Thank you, Ed, for that very detailed explanation. I really appreciate it. You explained it a lot better than I would, but you've been kind of the one with a few other counselors leading the charge in getting this money, because at the end of the day, this is what that money was for business recovery. And, you know, it just did align perfectly with the timing with this council getting up and running. And so I think we want to definitely take this opportunity. And when you're talking about deliverables, Chris, here you go. So coming up with some programming and spending money. So Nitya, I saw your name was your hand was
Yeah, I was just going to say thank you, Ed. That was really good, thorough explanation. I do have to leave because I have a babysitter that I have to let go. So I was hoping I could leave, or unless there's you
Yeah.
would want us
I mean, I
present
think
the nomination.
for us, if we decide to move forward with subcommittees, do you have one that, you know, if we just broke it down right now, business retention, attraction, or marketing and data collection, like one you'd be more interested in, just if you have.
Yes, marketing, promotion, data collection.
All
Yes.
I think that's
I
really
think,
helpful.
Aaron, just one other thing, Nithya,
Yeah.
while we have you, did you have an interest in leadership?
Yes.
In being chair or vice chair?
No.
To that end, I'd like to nominate Julianne to be chair.
Oh, come on. I'm just gonna nominate you. I have chaired before, and I would be really interested in seeing someone else do it.
All right. Well, we could get off. We could go back to that so we don't lose steam on the.
No, I was only asking because she was jumping off.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
the only reason I
yeah.
raised
Yeah,
it. So
Oh,
I
yeah,
don't
thank
mean to
you.
sidetrack.
So you
us
have
into
no
that,
interest. Do you have anyone you'd like to nominate?
I think, you know, Chris or Julianne, I think either of them, if
Okay.
they have the interest, yeah.
Okay. Well,
yeah,
we'll write
we're
that
the
down.
loudmouths, right?
Right.
No,
Thank
Julian,
you.
you're very
Thanks, everyone.
insightful,
Okay.
and I
Great.
like your background.
Okay. So, just to be mindful of everyone's time too. Yeah, I think I'd love to open up the discussion of what you guys think of this. I mean, I think it's, like I was saying, really exciting. Do these subcommittees try to tackle and come up with programming right away where we can spend this money tomorrow? Or, you know, I did send around some examples as well. The science facade is moving forward, and you know, it would be really helpful from people in this group, guidance on what that looked like. So yeah,
Well,
the floor is
Aaron,
everyone else's.
if you're looking to spend, you know, or kickstart something, you know, what's in town for programs and initiatives right now that you believe are viable that could use funding?
Um,
You don't have to rebuild everything. There's some
So-
stuff out there that probably was really viable.
So I know many of you have been involved in the community for a long time and probably have seen really successful programming. I've been in this role now for 3.5 years, and I started during COVID. So I will speak to the digital marketing e-commerce thing I did. That was really successful. I had a lot of people sign up for that and end up using the funds to revamp their website or set up an e-commerce platform, which they didn't have before. And so I would be I think, you know, I won't speak for the businesses, but I think people have asked me in the past, am I going to run that again? So I found that very successful. I have heard that the Sign Facade program that was run through the Chamber and Main Streets was also very successful. And again, we have those funds that we need to spend and earmark from Rep. Garabedian as part of that, kind of as matching funds with that as well, around $100,000. So, and I think it's the perfect timing to what Ed was talking about, getting this new sign bylaw in our overlay to the finish line, and might be a great way to kind of have some examples and use that money towards that.
Can I ask differently? I'm sorry to interrupt. So Ed, are you saying that we actually get to allocate $1 million to programs, or do we make recommendations and they go back to the town council and the town council says, yep, this is a great recommendation, we'd like to, because we can't allocate money, right? That's up to you folks.
The town council has already allocated, the town council has allocated this $1 million for this incubator
To us?
fund.
To us?
So in essence, I believe they have, no?
Well, I mean,
Yeah,
what I would
that's
say
how
is,
I
I think
understand
I think the proper way of doing it would be that we would, I would say that kind of like we approve donations at town council meeting in the same way if this council comes up with expenditures, I think the best way to do it would be for me to present this to the town
Right.
council just for just a perfunctory approval of those dollars. But yes, but ARPA dollars are different than other expenditures, obviously because they're not approved at town meeting. They're different dollars. But
If we came up and we
yeah.
said, we want to pay for clowns to come, you guys are gonna, like, who is the final say on where
There
the
were so
dollars
many
go?
bad lines to go with that, Julie. I'm sorry.
We want to buy a pony for everybody. We can't do that, right? Who's the final arbiter of this is where the money goes?
Look at
The
the
reason why I'm
fun.
asking this is because Eric,
Yeah.
if you have two
The-
programs that are successful and you're like, look, I need $200,000. I think
These dollars are completely under the domain of town council. And
Town
so,
council, yeah.
but then town council has allocated these funds for these purposes. So what I'm saying is that whatever initiatives or whatever expenditures like this council comes up with, I think just itemizing those and then having them signed off on by the town council on a regular basis, like makes the most sense. I think that's the most proper way of doing it.
Mhm.
But I don't expect that that it's not the intention of town council to be micromanaging this $1 million.
other funds. Mhm.
Yeah, that's not the purpose, of that.
Okay, because the reason why I'm asking that, and you'll find out I'm really sarcastic, is if you have a match from Melrose, I keep forgetting Kate. She said you get $100,000 and I'll match it. Is that really what I just heard?
No, what I was saying is I have $100,000 from an earmark from her office
Okay.
to do sign and facade improvements. I've had it for about 2 years, but what I've been always holding back on is I know there's been conversations about redoing our sign overlay district, so I didn't want to pay for signs that basically the process was getting changed and what it was going to look like. So I've been sitting on that money, but now we have another $150,000. So basically $250,000 for exactly sign and facade. And also includes ADA improvements. So yeah. Does that
And
answer-
that's at a minimum. We can also have more money
Add more
allocated
money,
for
yeah.
for facade.
Okay.
And that's what signs can be, again, awnings. If you notice, Hart's Hardware, for instance, when they redid that, they added awnings, things of that nature. And as you know, a lot of the buildings are quite tired, and so there's a lot of opportunity there. A lot of businesses would probably love to have better window displays, for instance, better windows and entryways for displays and things of that nature.
So
We could have it so that there's a lot of like window box planters for a lot of different businesses so that they can have that kind of, curb appeal. I mean, it could be any number of things.
And that's where we could have, if that's a program that you guys, this group comes up with, I think it was allocated, but I could put the program together and you guys would be like, I think that is good. Like, yes, I think we should include flower boxes. Yes, I think awnings should be covered under this program and kind of giving me guidance first telling me what you want the program to be. Hopefully I can put it together for you guys and then you guys giving me kind of the sign off and then the town council ultimately being the one that says, okay, move forward with the program.
So to that end, geez, there's 4 buildings connected downtown. I think we should take the 250 and renovate all those storefronts. Is that real? Or does that say, well, we need this much from this business, we need this much from this business, or maybe this bank or that bank or someone at the edge wants to help improve downtown. I mean, there's 2 or 3 eyesores that would look way better if we threw $50,000 at them.
Right.
And that's
I
a
agree.
part of this, but we'd want to also make sure that again, we need to establish what the criteria would be, but the idea of having some sort of buy-in by the business versus just handing over money, but instead show that there's a match of some sort, even if it's a 3-to-1 match, we'll match $3 for every $1 you spend, or whatever the case might be. Some of it could be outright grants, especially signs. I think that would be something, Aaron, right? Where a lot of signs, if they're in compliance with what we're looking for, again, that's for example, not backlit signs, not dealing with a lot of neon and no neon, those sorts of things. Gooseneck lighting on signs, that's what we're really talking about here, and that's where businesses have migrated. But to your point, Chris, Yeah, I mean, if there's a criteria that is established here by this council, and there's a certain business that identifies, yeah, I'm interested in doing this, and there's an improvement that can be made that is open for discussion by this council, I'd say ultimately, and then ultimately making the recommendation for the expenditure.
So to
Chris,
that
I'm
end,
thinking,
there's a block downtown, there's 4 businesses. I want, black wooden signs with gold lettering and gooseneck lighting. And it's a $85,000 project. And we think the council should do it. Is that,
That's a deliverable.
I think that would probably, just given the amount for one particular, if that were 85,000, I
maybe
think
it's
that would
4,
probably not
but
be.
see,
I
but I'm
guess-
also coming from the point of, we have a program that anyone could apply to. Like, yes, we can pinpoint certain buildings that we'd want to see that and reach out to the property owners and be like, listen, there's this money available through this grant loan, micro loan program for you to be able to do whatever it's going to be called, to
Yeah,
make
that's fine.
complete improvements to your facade, with the town kicking in, like Ed said, 3 to 1, and you've probably been sitting on that, and we're here to help you with that. Because I'm all about opening it up to anyone, and not everyone applies, but we could also kind of target certain areas as well, not for just the program for facade, but other programs too.
Erin, how much did your digital commerce initiative cost?
I think maybe 50.
So
50?
is that, because if what you're saying is we vote on something and then Ed, you bring it back to the town council. I think that's low hanging fruit, right? If you're saying that was wildly successful and people are asking you for it, we're not going to meet for another month, right? Maybe this is something we can vote on tonight to fund your digital commerce initiative.
Yeah, the grants were up to $2,000. I just pulled up the description per business. And there actually was only $20,000, but we paid the consultant and stuff as well. I forget how much that was. But yeah, that's something that this group could vote on, that they want to put $1 million towards. Or part of the $1 million, not $1 million. That'd be a lot of
That could
digital
be one
marketing and
hell of a
e-commerce
digital
work,
program
wouldn't
Be
it?
aggressive for the
like
million.
that.
But then also too, I know I sent to this group, we were talking about pop-ups, and that's been something that's been talked about a lot, and dealing with vacant storefronts. It kind of is killing 2 birds with 1 stone, is supporting small businesses and then also filling a vacant storefront in our downtown. And I know I've been working with a business that organizes all that for around $100,000, and could get up and going like this summer for a storefront for a year, and having, revolving businesses in there. So there's kind of those ones that could be projects and programs that could probably be put together tonight or in a month from now, and we get the ball rolling. And then there's these larger projects that I think programs that we need to talk through a little bit more, and what they look like, to make them, more longer term as well for the community.
So we could vote to ask you to go back and pull together some detail around those 2 initiatives, and then next time, like, you'd have the details, you'd have the facts, the numbers.
Yep. Ed, right? That's my understanding.
Yeah, I think, Erin, it might be helpful, because we're obviously just introducing this to this council tonight. Erin, it might be helpful if you have the opportunity to just circulate around, like the sign program, for instance, and some of the other initiatives, the digital, initiative, so that between now and the next meeting, everyone has an opportunity to better just kind of acquaint themselves with them. And then maybe at the next meeting, they could be voted on. We still have ample time to do that. But Erin has done a lot of good work in these spaces, and I think it would be helpful just for everyone else to be just a little bit better familiarized with what they entail.
Yeah, I could put a few different programs together, kind of get an idea on how much it would cost as well. More than happy to do that.
And there's really no votes required for that. Erin can just commit to do that, and then next time there could be a vote on that.
So Erin brings us 3 or 4 programs, or 2, that are, low hanging fruit, Julianne. and we say, let's give them $100,000, Ed. These two programs deserve 100, then what happens? We vote on it, yeah, we approved it. Good luck at town council?
No, I don't think so. I think the procedure would be then, it would just be presented to town council as, okay, these are the expenditures that have been recommended by the Economic Development Council. And then,
Without a vote.
I don't, no, town council would vote on it, but
Okay.
we vote on every donation that we receive, for instance. So
Mhm.
I think that would be the proper way to do it. But I don't expect that if this council has given good thought to these expenditures, there's going to be debate at town council about them. I think it's, because again, the debate at town council was to allocate the $1 million for these exact purposes. So that's already happened.
And
So
I think too, Ed, sorry to cut you off, whoever's going to talk. I think too, if they fall in line with these bullet points here, if I'm correct, we're what the money was allocated for.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm saying just to dot our i's and cross our t's.
Yeah.
You're just
Yeah.
providing the accounting to the town council, but it's more, I see it more perfunctory, because this is exactly, if we stay within our lane as a council with what is spelled out here, that's exactly what the dollars have already been allocated for.
So when I chaired the Community Preservation Committee in Malden, and we had money. And the way we actually did it is we'd make recommendations and then formally present to the council, and then the council would okay it. So I'm almost wondering, Ed, I'm almost wondering if having someone from this council present the ideas might actually be a good way to sort of give the council validity in a way, and also allow you as a town council member to then be sort of the, I don't want to say the sponsor, but, because then you could speak to how in support you are, where it's not necessarily you coming with your idea, not, you know what I mean? It's not necessarily one town councilor coming, speaking to the other town councilors, but it's a member of the Economic Development Council coming saying, we're recommending this money for these programs.
And I think that's a wonderful idea, chairperson, for you to present it.
Yeah,
What I might
That
suggest
sounds
is,
right.
I think it may depend on the expenditure. I think there are probably some things that are probably going to be more, basic, and I want to be disrespectful of everyone's time. I think there are other initiatives that if they're a larger dollar figure, might make more sense.
That's what I was thinking. Mhm.
Yeah, I'm happy to have anyone come from this council and mention to the town council. I just don't want us to get too bogged down in presentations that may not be necessary. But if there are, certain things that, if it's $250,000 being spent, for instance, yeah, that would seem like it would be appropriate for someone from this council to give a bit more of an overview too. But again, there was a lot of discussion at the town council to get us to this point. And this is awfully prescriptive already, these bullet points. And so I don't want this council to feel as if you're working within these confines, that there has to be further justification, because this is what these dollars were anticipated to be spent on.
So playing that forward, you can see a town council meeting that says, here's a line item from us, and you just want to vote to approve it.
That's why we have 2 liaisons from the town council that are part of this. Mhm.
And so you don't feel some of this stuff, unless it's maybe controversial or rather expensive, is anything more than a quick line item vote on your agenda?
I don't expect it should be, no, because again, we had a lot of discussion this was a long time in the making, and we had a lot of the ARPA expenditures generally. So we had a lot of discussion on how we get to this point. So I don't understand that the town council's position to be looking to micromanage this spending at this point. No, that's not the intention.
So this is exciting,
Hmm.
right? Yeah,
I agree.
yeah. So I think what I'm taking away from this conversation is I will go back and kind of clean up the 3 to 4 programs, kind of low hanging fruit programs, kind of maybe that sign and facade, pop up, another program that was Melrose did that I think was pretty successful, just with business retention, and maybe one more, and kind of circulate it to the group for us to possibly talk at the, or we will talk about, maybe vote on it at the next meeting.
Mhm.
And then we can maybe talk about bigger picture programming, what that may look like. Shouldn't say bigger picture, but ones that may need to be thought through in a little more detail when I'm thinking like microloan, revolving fund type things like that.
I agree.
Does that
Yep.
It
work?
also gives everyone the opportunity between now and the next meeting to also be thinking about other programs, you know, as you're going through, so you know that we have this money available. You understand that these are the general parameters we're looking to work within, and to be thinking about ways that we can have maximum community impact. Because we'll get into it tonight, but the Envision downtown revitalization project is the infrastructure, you know, the streetscapes and the like. This is a perfect complement to that because it's dealing with the facades and the signage and the way in which we can enhance the aesthetics of everything that's not, you know, curb to curb or sidewalk to sidewalk. So we have a lot of opportunity here to do to make a lot of positive impact, both visually and from the perspective of you know, strengthening our business community. And it's not just the Main Street either. Again, Greenwood comes to mind. Four Corners. There's plenty of opportunities here across Wakefield.
And we keep talking, you know, talked a lot about businesses, but nonprofits too. So if there's any programs as well, and I think, you know, this business retention program could also tie in nicely with a nonprofit retention type program as well. So I'll definitely be doing that, looking at that as a piece of that. All right, so I have some homework to do, and then hopefully we can maybe have a program or two to move forward, or my office can move forward with after next meeting. Does anyone have anything else they'd like to add? So there's like one deliverable, but so I don't know, I'm just gonna go back, revisit that conversation, just so I'm on the same page for these subcommittees. Do we still want these two? I'm going with 2 subcommittees, marketing and data collection, and then business recruitment and retention. Do we want to kind of separate those 2 groups? Or do you want me to put some deliverables together of where I could use some help for next meeting and then break it out from there?
I'd say do the subcommittees.
Okay.
Yeah, I think agree.
Okay.
I agree.
So I'll write down the subcommittees, and then I'll organize them for you guys between now and our next meeting to kind of, as a starting point, we can brainstorm some deliverables maybe together. Does that work for the group?
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Does. Yep. Do you
So-
think maybe we should wait till the next meeting to name a chair, or how do you guys want to work on that? I mean, are we,
How many?
how,
You wanna do it, Rocco?
1, 2, 3, 4.
Who wants to do it?
So we have more than half of the folks here. We have 6 people here.
Yeah, because you have nine voting members, so
Yeah,
right.
yeah,
So yes, you're good that way. I mean, so it's really completely up to whatever you guys think.
Who's not here who we can nominate?
So we are missing Kimberly tonight, Ally, and yeah, is that it? Is that everyone?
I think so.
Okay, well, she kind of made her opinion stated, so
And Kimberly is
just had a baby.
just had a baby.
Had a
Okay,
baby,
so-
yeah. So she has, I think, bigger things right now.
So she might not be involved for the next couple of meetings at least.
Yeah, yeah.
Right.
And then I think
And-
Alex is a little
and-
busy right now.
Yeah, and Ally is running for elected office, so that could perhaps change
Change
things
things,
depending
so-
on that outcome.
Yeah.
So I think your council.
We're good. Yes.
I think you could, if you wanted to tonight, do that, certainly.
Sure. So does anyone want to make a nomination for themselves or someone? So I'm going to go back to item number 3, I believe it was. Yep, nomination of Economic Development Council and Chair. Would anyone like to officially make a nomination for someone to be chair and work
I
with?
will nominate Julianne.
Can we do co-chairs or no, because we're too small?
I was thinking the same thing. I mean, I would be more than happy to offer myself up, but to be a chair with everything else going on right now for me, I want to be able to give 100%. And I'm not really sure I'm in a position right now to do that. However,
We could have,
to be a co-chair, I would be more than happy to extend myself in that way.
I'd be happy, and co-chair is fine, but I think we could do a chair and a vice chair if you guys wanted.
Yeah, to that end, I would do a vice chair if Julianne wanted to be chair.
I just think in practical terms, you're running the meetings, so you obviously you're.
I've chaired before. I know.
Yeah, but I'm saying, but for those who haven't been, like you're running the meetings and you're creating the agenda. I mean, those are really your two primary functions more than anything. So if you expect you're going to be able to attend most of the meetings,
that's important. Mhm.
Yeah, and if you're cool knowing or understanding your rules of order, then you're good. You're going to be okay.
Okay. All right, Chris, you sold me.
Excellent.
You and me, buddy.
All right, so anyone else we have one nomination for Julianne.
I
Does anybody
second the
second that?
nomination.
Okay,
I second it.
all right. Does anyone else have anyone they'd like to nominate or want to nominate themselves, or should I go around? Julianne? Clearly, I would not be a good chair. All right, so no one's saying anything, so I'm gonna just go around the room. It looks like Julianne Orsini is been nominated to be the chair of the Economic Development Council by Chris Barrett and seconded by Rocco. So I'm gonna go around and just if you could let me know yay or nay if that works for you. Rocco?
Yeah.
Chris?
Yay.
Ed, do you technically vote or are you just the lead?
I'm not going to vote on this.
Oh, okay, Julianne? Julianne, you gonna vote for
Yeah.
your?
Do I have to
Yes.
vote? Are you vote for myself? Yeah.
Yeah. Anne,
Yes.
Ali,
Yes.
and Will?
Yes.
Great.
Oh, boy.
All right, Julianne,
Congratulations.
congratulations.
Now Chris is vice, right?
Do you want a vice? Like,
I do.
you do?
I do.
Okay. I don't know if there's any reason why there couldn't be a vice chair. I don't see any reason why not. So you're nominating Chris?
Yeah.
Okay.
Is that okay, Chris?
I would be delighted to work with you.
I'll
So-
second that.
I can take, my logic is because we moved here. I grew up in Melrose, been out of Wakefield forever, but you've been here much longer. So I think having someone who's been here much longer is helpful.
Okay. So, so Julian, nominated Chris, a second by Anne. Does anyone else have anything to add? All right, I will just go through real quick, with a yay or nay. Rocco,
Yay.
who is next? Chris,
Yep.
Anne,
Yes.
Julianne,
Yeah.
Ollie,
Yes.
and Will.
Yes.
All right, passes 6-0. All right, so congratulations, Chris, you're the vice chair of this group, and Julianne, congratulations, you're the chair now of the Economic Development Council. So I will work with you guys closely when it comes time for the next meeting, setting the agenda, and touch base with you, anything you'd like to be added, and you will be in charge next time. And hopefully you can do a much better job than I did when I started here
Great job.
tonight.
Well, I didn't think that included you signing off from that.
Right.
No.
Signing off for, oh, what, talking here? No, I'm kidding. Okay, great. So, we have that I will reach out to everyone about the subcommittees. If you want to express your interest back to me through email of what group you'd like to be in, we can just do it that way. And then set up subcommittee meetings. I guess I moved on to item number 6.
I'm not sure where you raise your hand here.
Just go ahead.
In regards to which subcommittee I'd like to be, it would definitely be business retention and attraction.
Okay.
So I've been working on kind of a side hustle right now ever since I've contemplated becoming a member of this fine committee. I've already gone on a couple road trips and met with a lot of owners and general managers. So I think it's obviously great to get together and go over these points that we've been talking about for the past 90 minutes. I'm definitely kind of a individual of action. Call me stir crazy, but I just have I'm bringing various businesses to Wakefield is kind of why I came onto this board. So I'm just ready to go.
Great.
Excellent.
That's
Fabulous.
awesome, Will.
Thank you, Will. Yeah, well, I appreciate it. Yeah, I'll just move to items number 6 and I'll just bring this up again. So items not anticipated. If you'd like to let me know right now what group you want to be on, that's awesome. If not, you can just email me. We can do it that way and I can set up the subcommittee meetings.
I'll be marketing.
And yeah, marketing. Okay.
I'll do the business and nonprofit retention, expansion, and attraction as well. I'll
Okay.
join
Rock
Will
out.
for sure. All right, man.
Holly, did you say anything? Did you want to,
You could slide me in wherever is useful.
where would you find yourself most useful?
Business attraction, I would imagine.
Okay.
Yeah, we need the commercial leasing aspect of this to kind
Yeah.
of kick in,
Yeah,
because
definitely. That's what I was
Absolutely.
thinking.
it's
Okay.
kind of the only piece that I haven't kind of mastered in this process. So, and quick side note, I went to expand into commercial real estate like 3 or 4 years ago. I took an accelerated BU course that was only 5 weeks long. It was extremely intense, but I learned a lot of appreciation about it. And it's just hard to have that aspect too, add to everything else. So that's why, like Voltron, we can all form together to make this happen.
There you go. All right, great. And then, Julian, do you have any group? I don't know.
Yeah, I wanted the first one, the economic, the business expansion
Okay.
group.
And then Chris.
I mean, I would like the business expansion piece, but I also think that Julianne and I should be on different subcommittees.
Okay. And this is, fluid. We can move people around too, as well, as time goes on. So, and then Ed, do you want to have, I left you last because, you're the liaison, but do you kind of want to be part of both or, one or the other?
I'm happy to help out with both, but I think the business development piece is
Okay.
where I'd like to maybe better focus.
Okay. Great. Well, that gives me some guidance and then I'll
I
put
mean, I
that
also think that, there's crossover. And,
Absolutely.
the marketing piece and the business development piece are, in essence, very close to being the same thing. Because you're going to develop businesses by marketing how well Wakefield will be, help them be successful.
Yeah, there's definitely overlap.
Great. Okay, so that helps me. So I have some things to do here. Does anyone else have items not anticipated? No? Okay.
I don't know if this is the place to ask Aaron, but I mentioned a couple of weeks ago in regards to business cards.
Oh, yeah.
That will give me a lot more,
Flash a little paper as you go around to all these
you know what I'm
places.
talking about, Chris.
Yeah.
Street
You know?
cred, a lot more street cred.
Yeah, my
Well, that's just
regular
a little
business
security
card.
blanket.
Yes, my regular business card is not working. Like it's trading cell phone numbers and stuff like that, and getting a lot of cards, but it just gives you a lot more legitimacy. Yeah, for sure.
Or maybe we all should get just like digital cards so we can tap our phone to do that.
That would be very futuristic.
Not that futuristic.
Oh, I know.
I'll look
Well,
into that.
having them both, I think just something as an option to pass along would be great.
And that might be a conversation for us to be having in the marketing group too, is kind of how do we promote ourselves as a group to get the word out there of businesses. So I'll get back to you, Will, on that.
All right, sounds good.
Yeah. All right, item number 7, adjournment.
Should we do the next meeting?
Oh, yes. Do we want to pick a date?
Second Wednesday seems to be the mode.
The
Wanna
8th.
keep that going, or
That works for me.
Yeah.
Does that work if we do have just like a standing meeting for the
Yeah.
next few months?
Does that work
I
for
think
you guys?
Mhm.
I think it's better for everyone's calendar because then we can all kind of.
Okay.
build around it? Yeah, second Wednesday then?
Yeah, let me just double check.
Is it going to continue just being Zoom, or are we going to actually?
That's a ever
another one.
evolving question.
And
I
how
just-
exactly did that evolve?
I don't have the answers to that.
Yeah.
That is also going to be a busy week, I think, Ed, the 8th, right?
With a town meeting.
Yeah, if we end up going but you know what? That's fine. There won't be
Do you
we
wanna
don't know
make-
if it will
You
go
want to
3
make
or
that
4
the
nights.
15th of May?
I think, yeah, from a personal and professional, I think town meeting's going to be a lot, so the 15th
Yeah.
be better.
Town meeting's gonna go multiple. Please make sure you attend.
Yeah.
You'll
Yeah.
have plenty of opportunities starting on the
Plenty-
29th.
Plenty of things to talk about there. And so, yeah, if we could do the 15th, that would be preferable. I just wanted to make sure I looked at the calendar first before I agreed on the 8th. So, does the 15th work for everyone?
That's
Okay.
fine.
All right, so I'll put that down. I'll send an invite to everyone. Okay. All right. At 7 o'clock, and then I will let you know about in person or Zoom or hybrid. Okay, I don't see anything on the calendar.
I guess is there a preference amongst those that are here now?
In person,
Yeah, I agree with. I
In
agree. At least,
particularly get started.
yeah. Every other Zoom option or hybrid or whatever, but
Hybrid,
I
if
think
you can.
Yeah,
I mean, obviously with your schedule pending, but having the option to all meet up in person, I think there's a benefit there.
I mean, Aaron, the library's got a nice hybrid room these days.
Yeah, I think I just need to get an update from Sherry Dalton on the rooms that are ready to go. I think public safety, like I said, just had some tweaks that had to be made. The one that we met in last time, I think, with seeing the whole table and all that, but I'll get back to this group. I agree. I think being in person is also very beneficial. So I'll throw out the library, and then with it being a small group too, as well, there may be a room potentially at another location. So I'll talk to her.
And we are trying to, as a town council, try to have all the meetings hybrid, at least, so we have that optionality for folks too.
Yeah.
And Aaron, we could maybe look at town hall versus second
That's what I
floor,
was
too.
thinking. Yeah, the second floor. Yeah.
Yes, second floor could work well. So we
Okay.
can figure that out.
We'll figure it out.
Sure.
Thank you. Anything else before someone can motion to adjourn for the night?
Fabulous work, Aaron. Thank you. Ed, thank you.
Thank you
Thank
for bearing
Thanks,
with
guys.
me. Does someone want a
Thanks.
motion to adjourn so I can make sure I'm doing this right?
Yeah.
I'll make a motion.
Thanks, Anne.
Do we have a second?
I second.
There we go.
No discussion on the
My bladder seconds that motion.
Yes, that's right. No discussion.
So all those in favor?
Thank
Aye.
you.
Aye.
All right, I'll get it down. I need 101. Okay, thank you, everyone. I really appreciate your time tonight, and we'll see you at the next meeting.